Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, and welcome to another Member Spotlight interview. Full disclosure, I'm feeling a little run down this week, and so my energy level is off. But I had this scheduled. I want you guys to meet Elijah. I want him to meet you. And I think that there's a lot of value to these Member Spotlight interviews. I think it's nice to know who your community is, you know? So there is Elijah there, and for some reason, Elijah, let's see, it's not giving me the option to add you. So, Mr. Bowie, can you tune in on your phone and see if that helps us as we do this Member Spotlight interview? So, yeah, a lot of people jumping on. Juliet, Daniel, Sean, Amanda, how's everybody doing today? As you may or may not have caught at the beginning of this, I'm sort of slogging through it today. Not feeling 100%. Of course, started with our daughter. She came home with some sort of a bug and ripped through the house. And now it's all of us. Thanks, Bob. Good to see you, my friend. All right. Here we go. Elijah Bowie wants to be in my video, and I want to let it. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. That's so kind of you, my friend. Here we go.
Hey.
What's happening, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I need you to put some earphones in.
Got you covered. Hold on.
Are they in?
There?
The chaos has ended, so yeah.
Yep, they're in now.
All right, man. How's it going, man?
Dude, it's good. It's been a fun, productive day. How about yourself? I heard you're a little under the weather.
Yeah. Kind of just, on the tail end of a grind, and it happens. It happens. I've been productive, but most of what I do when I don't feel good is I just talk with people on my phone, you know?
Right.
There's something so much more low impact about sitting on your phone than sitting in front of the computer. It seems like such a big commitment to sit down in front of the computer.
Exactly. Like, oh man, I really got to do work if I sit on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. So cool, man. We've got Daniel, Bob, Sean, Juliet, Amanda, and who else? Who knows who else on here? All to meet you. So without further ado, guys, this is Elijah Bowie. Elijah, tell us a little about yourself. Start wherever you want, and just make it awesome, perfect, and compelling. That's all I ask.
Fair. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man.
I guess what would be of most value, kind of starting with my story, I've been an entrepreneur literally since I was a little kid, like 10 years old.
Love it.
I guess my story really gets started as a sophomore in high school. I actually had the largest water company in the Midwest at the time create a position for me and hired me to come work for their company after they saw a school project that I did. So I became their social media and branding manager as a sophomore in high school, which was fantastic.
Nice.
And exciting. Fast forward, I started my own gym in 2015, own training facility. That was completely bootstrapped. Was able to grow that from 0 to $500,000 annually.
Nice.
Which kind of, that was a lot of fun. Was able to sell that business and then kind of launched me into my agency, where I was kind of helping. Started off with just fit pros who had kind of seen what I had done and was like, hey, help us out.
Yeah.
And then during working with them, we realized that like you can bring people leads, but that a lot of the issue was that people didn't have a good close. They weren't good at closing or selling.
Yeah.
And really doing it in a way that's just not sleazy and grimy and all these things. And that's what I didn't like either. So I had created a system back in 2015 when I started my gym called the 3-step selling system that I had used internally. So we started helping them with that. And it's been the biggest value that we've ever helped people with. And so now kind of into 2018, going into 2019, we kind of flipped and I still have my agency clients, but we're not accepting new ones. Now I'm just helping people, specifically coaches, consultants, and some agencies, with their selling system, which isn't just the calls, right? It's kind of everything that goes into it before, as you know. But yeah, so that's kind of like an update from like my journey into like where I am now.
Excellent, man. I want to definitely get into your current field of focus and expertise, but I'm curious on a personal level. I'd like to hear about bootstrapping a gym up to $500,000 a year, because, you know, so many of us, right, in the online space are truly and really bootstrapping things. And I was for quite a while. So talk a little bit about what that process was like.
Yeah, so it was really fast for me. Actually, I was a freshman. I was actually a college athlete. I was a freshman at university, and I needed money. I come from a household. I'm the second oldest of 10, so I didn't come for money, and my parents definitely didn't have any to shell out.
Right.
So I had a job at a gym down the road, and I was just looking around, and I was always a great employee, but I hated working for other people, as most of us entrepreneurs are. And so I was like, I was like, dude, I could go do this myself. So literally, I just decided, I was just like, I left, and I was like, I'm going to go do this by myself. So I found like this local warehouse gym, and I was like, hey, I want to train here. So I paid them, you know, kind of let me use their space. And dude, like it started, this was before I really had a true grasp of Facebook ads, which, gosh, if I had known what I know now in 2015, I'd be a multi-millionaire, like, because Facebook ads were so cheap back then. But I started off with, dude, I messaged every single person that I was connected with on LinkedIn and Facebook. It was just like, hey, I just started this business. This is what I got going on. Love for you to come out. So that's how it kind of started, which, you know, that quickly ran out. Or, you know, people were like, that's cool, but weren't really interested. So then I spent a lot of that first year. I think if I could go find it, about $28,000 on Facebook ads. Which was a ton back then for me, because it was like everything we were bringing in was going back out. Actually, I remember at the end of the year, when it was time to do taxes, Uncle Sam was just like, "Yeah, buddy, you don't owe us anything, because you didn't quite do enough."
Right, you get a pass.
But like, right, yeah. But I had like spent like every penny just like back on marketing, and really learning like Facebook ads and kind of finding a cadence for it. And so that really launched us into 2016. And that's what blew us up. The gym was in Columbus, Ohio, which is a very saturated market, especially for the health and fitness space. But what I realized very quickly, and I'm sure a lot of people have realized this before, but that I didn't have to be the best trainer in the world. I didn't have to have the best facility, but what I needed to be able to do to win, and what we did do to kick everyone else's butt, was I had to be able to speak to my ideal client in the language that they understood better than anyone else.
There it is.
And if we could do that, we would win. And so that's what we did. And we just started taking off. Like I remember in 2017, I know because I just saw the Excel sheet the other day, I was sitting down with a minimum of anywhere to 50 to 70 ladies, because we were a women's only training facility, 50 to 70 a month. And we were closing like 80 to 90% of them. So that was like, that's what really took us off, is when I understood who we were going after, their problem, and I could speak their language, is what just like shot us up.
When you talk about understanding how to speak your perfect prospect's language, you're speaking my language. You know, and I know that you'll agree with this. You can look back now and see that it's what's most overlooked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy the percentage of entrepreneurs who just skip past trying to figure out who they're talking to. Right?
Right. No, that's so true. Yeah. So many people want the tactics and the next shiny thing, or it's like, oh, what's so-and-so saying or using in their copy, or what's their offer? And it's like, you got to be able to speak that language.
You know what, man? I bet you we could start a side hustle where all we did, now listen to this, all we did was take beginning entrepreneurs and make it look like they were successful.
We could definitely start ourselves doing that.
I bet you folks would pay for that, man. Because, I mean, that's really like, it gives you dopamine, it strokes the ego and all those things, but it's not sustainable until you figure out who you're talking to and what is really going on with them. So in fitness, I'm thinking it wasn't that hard to figure out who you were talking to, right? I mean, that was, you don't have to go much deeper, I don't think, into your avatar than, like, let's say, for example, housewives with stay-at-home housewives from 30 to 45 or whatever it is, right? And fitness being being what it is, it's like they don't have to have more than just that in common.
Yeah. One of the big things, like, so the first year, right, when you start a business, as many of us do, it's like, hey, I'll work with anybody.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of that. Had a lot of athletes, had a lot of, actually we started growing a presence, like, we worked with Miss Ohio, so like kind of the model scene. But yeah, when we really decided to get super focused when we blew up was, not only when we got clear on our demographics, kind of what you were saying, the popular demographic in fitness is like, the like 30 to 45, 55
Sure.
people, the woman who has money. But really when we got into the psychographics, and I think that's what a lot of people, skip over when they're thinking about who they're speaking to was like, okay, the psychographics of, let's say Shelly is our ideal client. And like, what are the three things that Shelly deals with every day that tick her off? Right. And more importantly, like, not only what's going on with her, but what has she tried to do to fix it? Why didn't those things work for her? And how can we tell her, hey, here's what you should do instead that combat the things that she's tried or what's commonly out there, that she can only get from us. And when we did that, that's when it like really took off.
Yeah. And that's where I was going with the talking about the avatar. Once you know who you're talking to, what was your process of getting into the conversation they were already having? Because I will be I will testimony for this. I will testify for this. I will be on the mountaintop screaming this out until I can no longer scream. Once you can speak that language, once you can get into the emotional conversation, and it's the one they're having in here, really.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Everything changes. And I'm a before and after. I'm proof of that. I'm living proof before and after. I started off like you just joked, man, I'll work with anybody. and as a result, I worked with almost nobody.
Right. Yeah, that's what happens.
And that's what happens, man. And I saw some people I really learned to respect over time talking about you've got to know who your audience is. And I ignored it like so many do. I wanted to be saying cool stuff and getting likes and all, you know what I'm talking about. So can you pinpoint the process of how you got into that conversation, that sort of secret dialogue that they're having with themselves?
Yeah, one of the big things for me was, and I just kind of stumbled upon all this stuff for me. One of the things I did, because I told you I was messing around with Facebook ads. Yeah. I was like, well, there's other people, obviously in the fitness space. There's huge brands making billions of dollars a year speaking to the same market. Yeah. So what I did was, after I knew the demographic, all right, these ladies 30 to 55, I went into who do they follow, where do they frequent, and what do they fund. And so those are things like magazines, television shows, like shops. And I would go study these big brands and look at like how they spoke to them, the language they would use, what angles they would come at. And not necessarily to copy off of them, because like I told you, one of the things I wanted to do was talk about, hey, if that's what they're commonly seeing, what can I, like, how can we be a little bit different? Like, hey, how can I pick the thing that they're saying and saying, hey, that doesn't work and here's why. But being able to pick up on that lingo really helped. And then as you start to get a couple of those clients, you ask them, it's like, you're sitting down in consultations, which was a big part for me, right? I was sitting down with every single person. And so I'm hearing the pains. It's like, I'm dealing with this and I'm dealing with this. So every time we were just able to get more clear on, like you were saying, that inner battle of like, what do they ask themselves? What are they going through? And when we were able to speak to that, so that those two combined things really helped me. Looking at the, who they follow, fund, and frequent, and how they talk to them. And then once I had a couple of those ladies come in, speaking to them and finding out by asking the right questions, what was their internal conversation with themselves and why they would come in or why they wouldn't go somewhere. As a lot of times, the information I would gather. Okay, like, there's all these other things. Why wouldn't you go to this gym, or why wouldn't you try this?
Right. Yeah.
And gathering that information and just doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Is what really made us helped us out.
So Bob McDaniel says, enjoy your trip to Germany, not knowing the language. And that was a reflection, a comment on not doing the avatar work, right? And trying to serve
Right.
people. Yeah, I like it.
That's funny, Bob.
So, yeah, that's good. Yeah, Bob, there'll be it's a live stream, so it'll sit in the group forever, my friend. He asked if I'd send out a recording of this training. And this really, Bob, this is just a spotlight interview. I want to create dialogue, and so that we in the group know who our neighbors are. That's really what this is about. It's sort of natural to talk about professional stuff, and that's always a place you can go. But this isn't actually a training per se. Not that it matters that much to make a distinction, but it'll sit in the group forever, Bob. You can always find it, and maybe we should hashtag it right now or something. Let's see. I'll just hashtag it. Member Spotlight. Not V. Member Spotlight. There we go. Okay, Bob, it's hashtag Member Spotlight. Thank you, my friend. Always appreciate your support. So I could talk about this. It was like for me, searching around in a dark room and thinking it was lit before I understood my people and how to speak to them, and then having the light turned on. Like, you really can't overstate the power, can you?
No, it really, that's literally the only thing that made us blow up. And we did that in like a tiny 2,000 square foot studio where probably 200 of the square feet was like a back office. Another 200 was the bathroom. So 1,600 training space. We had no business doing those numbers but yeah, like you said, that's the sole thing that did it for us. It's the only difference. Yeah,
totally. And so I really love that. And now for you, this has morphed into sales. And I like what you both said and alluded to about the work you're doing now with your 3-step sales process, that you alluded to how a lot of it isn't the conversation itself. And I want to know more about that. And also you said, without being sleazy, which is really important for me. So what you want to tell us a little bit about your approach?
Yeah. So, in 2015, I'm like, man, I want to, you start looking up our, sales or how to close, and there's all these techniques and tricks, and even down to the temperature. I was like, wow, the room's supposed to be a certain temperature. And I could do it, right? I could follow it, and I was seeing it close. But what I didn't like about it was that, sometimes at the end of it, you feel like you manipulated someone into making a decision. Yeah. And I was like, man, if I'm going to do this for any length of time, I got to be able to lay my head down at night and not think twice about it.
Truth.
And so I was like, I'm not reading any book, just screw it. I want to go through, I'm a big psychology and sociology fan, just because those things don't change often. And so I was like, just what is something in society that I can pull from that we're all familiar with? And so I chose a doctor's appointment. So the 3-step selling system is very largely based upon a doctor's appointment. And so step 1 is the about you, right? And I was like, so 90% of my consultations switched to me just finding out about them, right? Just gathering that information, which helped me with the marketing side as well. But just having a data download from them of where they're at right now, what it was costing them to stay there, and why it was important for them. More importantly, where did they want to end up and why that was important for them. Yeah. And through that information, if you go to your doctor, you say, oh, I got this going on and this hurts and all this. Well, then they give you a diagnostic, right? They're going to say, hey, based upon the information, this is what I think is going on with you. And I think that to combat this, we're going to do this, this, and that, right? And then once you agree to that, there's the prescription, right? They say, okay, this is the diagnosis, here's your prescription, you're going to take this, 2 times a day for the next 14 days and you'll be good. Yeah. And so that's what we started following, is that 3-step selling system, obviously with more, there's, more, a little bit more to it than that. Sure. But that, as the consultation itself, we started seeing, again, 80, 90, 95. There's months where we had 98% close rates.
Wow.
For this. And it was because that there was no manipulation. One of the things that I learned was that, yeah, you can manipulate someone to do something, but they feel bad. But you're going to close more sales if you don't manipulate something, or manipulate someone, right?
Yeah.
If they are truly making a decision because we've just helped clarify them, like, hey, here's where you're at. You don't know how to get here. And, and we present a plan for them to do that. And that comes from them internally.
Yeah.
Well, they already have all the motivation they need. So that's been powerful. And then as I started, like you said, now kind of selling it and stuff, I was like, well, one of the things that I know I hated when growing my agency was jumping on the phone with people who just weren't quite as qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this process that I teach now that leads up to the 3-step selling system, where we're really able to, one, based again on psychology. So everyone has 3 tracks of mind. Your prospect, we all have 3 tracks of mind. It's the child, the adult, and the parent. And we have to speak to all 3 to get a buying decision. So I have this thing that I call a thermostat post that speaks to the child, but then we can escalate and get them into the adult, where adult wants to know the logistics, right? Kind of like child's like, oh, gimme. Then the adult's kind of like, yeah, but wait, right? And so we get some qualification from the adult. And then a parent wants all the details. Like, yeah, you can go to Tommy's house, but like, who's all going to be there? When are you going to get picked up? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, so we got to speak to all 3. And when we were able to implement that and put that in front of it, well, basically the prospect would already say yes by that point to whatever it is, that's out there. So then when we jump on the phone, it's so much easier. So that's why we have very high close rates. I actually have 2 clients I work with that still have 100% close rates. Now, I call this a small sample pool. It's a relatively good sample pool, but like one guy is 16 for 16, and another one's like 18 for 18, which you and I know that's small in consultations, but like hey, they're killing it right now, but it's because they're using that process.
Yeah, and that may be a small sample size, but to get 100% on, that's very impressive. I mean, I don't know a lot of salespeople who don't feel pretty proud of getting 3 out of 3.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I really like the analogy of the child, the adult, and the parent. That's good. One of the things that I've been working on refining in my own sort of approach, because I also hate sales and manipulation and like that stuff, it just doesn't sit well with me, man. And for me, I've had sales training from several different people, and there was always that point where it's like the soul leaves the process, not necessarily, but could potentially leave the process, and you hit that gray area. Like this idea, I'm talking about this idea that it's your moral obligation to offer something to somebody if you know it can help them, right? Now, it really depends on the bearing of the person, because
that's true.
You know what I mean? Because I know people who take that very seriously, and I feel the integrity from them. And then I know people who use that as a damn, excuse to throw everything they're selling at everybody all the time.
Right.
So all of that stuff led me to the same conclusion or similar conclusion to yours, which is like, I really don't like being sold. I don't like feeling like I manipulated someone. And in my own case, my solution is more about what we were talking about earlier, which is your messaging and your position. So I find that for me, what works really well is to create such a complete and such a compelling overall message and position. Like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Most of my stuff is professional, but every now and then I'm going to post to tell you that I feel funny because I'm a 51-year-old guy and I love hip hop. You know what I mean? But it's true. And so I want you to be able to start to get to know me as well. But all of it always from a place of feeling like, no, I'm okay with posting this. This is
right.
You know what I mean? I'm okay with putting this out there. In my case, I don't post about my family much. And there's a reason for that. The reason why is because I want you to understand who I am as a professional. and what my personality is like. Those are the things that I want you to know about me.
Exactly.
You don't need to know everything my dog did today.
Right. Exactly.
But what I've found is that the more I build that, I guess you'd call it my brand. I guess really what it comes down to is my personal brand. And the more that I share, and I don't like this phrase, but for lack of a better phrase, the more I share from the heart, you know, whether it's a teaching bit, an opinion bit, whatever, the more I find that people now come to me. And it's taken a while. But when people come to me, then I can employ a conversation that really fits with the way you outlined your own sales process. It's just about, hey, what's going on? Oh, okay, based on what's going on, you know, I have these things, but you probably already knew that. And if you'd like any of them, we can talk about it. And so as a result of this, I haven't had to pitch a person in 6 months.
I love it.
Yeah, man. And I love it too. Like it's so I feel like you've done this, and I can say I've done this. I've conquered that like, if I don't learn sales, I won't eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like, do you mind if I use you as an example?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Same thing, right? I just said, hey, this is what I've got going on. And you're like, yeah, sounds good. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, which, by the way, guys, I know I've seen him post several times about it. I am in Manny's beta speaker generated.
The done for you.
The group. Yeah, the done for you speaking group. And it's been awesome so far. You know, they helped me create a one sheet. Your assistant's been phenomenal as well. I had a great conversation with her.
Yeah.
So, guys, jump on it. It's a great offer. And, yeah, I mean, when you offered it, I was like, oh, gosh, that's amazing. It's such a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't, you know, if you've seen that around, please hit up his inbox and ask him about it, because I do see the value in it. Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, we've got, I don't know if she sent them out to you yet or not, but we've got over 100 qualified leads.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, she told me that she was populating the list. She said maybe this weekend or something she'd send it over or something.
Oh, cool.
Like that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what you're going to have to do is just go through and be like, okay, this is too many.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that much.
Well, and over time, what we'll do is we'll refine it down to where what I'm looking for is the average ratio of how many yeses do you get from, say, 10 opportunities, right? I give you 10 leads. Right. How many of those turn into a yes? How many yeses do you want a month? And that's one of the things that I will actually be using machine learning and automation to help me with.
Okay. Yep.
So it's pretty exciting. I mean, what I don't think people understand yet about that is this isn't just me and my assistant. Like, we're building a machine. We're building an engine to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be powerful.
And we're going to be, as soon as we have enough data, we're going to start figuring out how we can apply on your behalf. So for you, it's and you know this, but I'm telling them.
Yeah.
For you, it's a two-step process. First, you get, okay, here's your 50 leads this month, and you say, apply to these ones for me.
Right.
And then we come back and, you know, perfect world scenario. It's like, okay, you got 3 yeses. Congratulations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That for anyone that's not not a speaker, hasn't spoken, like, that's all the hard grunt work.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just like, oh man.
Yeah.
The fact that that's done for you is just like, oh yeah, I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. And you're right, man. That's you know, I also have a do-it-yourself how to get booked to speak course, and what I find running that beta is that everybody gets super excited about the strategies, and then they hit a brick wall when it comes to the implementation, right?
Yeah.
And that's literally how this came about. I was like, I bet these guys would love it if I offered to take this off their plate. So
right.
What's so you've got this 3-step selling system. Now I know more about it, and I'm really feeling it. what do you see this year being like for you? What do you want to do that you haven't done yet?
So this year I'm really focused on getting this into just the entrepreneur coaching consultant space in general. Like we all like the high ticket space has really grown because we know what we're worth, but a lot of people just because it's their own mindset around sales. If anyone's like you and I, where it's like, oh, I don't want to be sleazy, then it's almost
so
like
many people
right
too.
now. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, then you're going to lose, right? Then you're, everyone else is going to make money and you're not.
Right.
And so I really want that to just be known and this to kind of become commonplace. But then on the back end, I want to go deeper with a lot more people. My goal is to go deeper with 38 people this year.
Nice.
And after really helping them conquer and install the 3-step selling system, to really just help them automate their marketing on the back end.
Perfect.
So that now they have this flow. And again, when I say automate, it means like, so I have this, we use what I call the autopilot method in my agency. But like, everyone's, oh, well, webinars, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. And like, none of that, but just really creating kind of like what you said, taking that natural and what, I'm not sure if Juliet is still on, but that natural organic process of like how you can attract someone to you instead of brute force them, how we can still set that up in an automatic way through paid advertising so that you're getting these people and they kind of go through this natural sequence where by the time they get on the phone with you, they know who you are. They know what you offer. And it's not that call is not, hey, here's why we're better than so-and-so, or here's what we got. It's like hey, they're already like, hey, I know what you do. I know what your process is. I'm trying to figure out how I can apply it to me.
Yeah.
So that's really my goal in 2019 is just to go deep with, 30 or so people. And get that into their business so that we can, really get it solidified and then kind of see where it takes me from there.
That's exciting, man. I was at a branding workshop 2 weeks ago, something like that. And one of the guest speakers was a guy who he's a high ticket client attraction specialist, and we all get to choose our own titles, right? But one of the things I really liked, he showed us his whole, like he pulled the curtain back on everything, and it was impressive, I have to say. But one of the things that I noticed, and I think this is kind of what you're talking about with the going deep, was he had like 7.7 touches before you could speak to him, right? So 7 times he had, automatedly reached out to you, connected, got you to answer questions. Just creating a what I would imagine is a powerful experience of know, like, and trust. Yeah. So by the time you get on the phone, it's like, well, yeah, okay. All we need to figure out is the details because I already totally have been, indoctrinated into who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
That's something I'm wanting to set up this year as well.
Yeah. It's so important because like, I saw this, and you probably saw this a lot. I saw this a lot in 2018, and I know we're just only going to see more of it in 2019, that people more than ever are doing business with people, not because they think you're the best or that they think you can get them the result faster than someone else, but if they like and align with you, that's it. Like if they can align with you, they're like, that's the person I'm doing business with.
Totally.
And so you're going to have to expose that. And like I said, get people to experience that from, take a cold person to like experience that. So that, like you said, by the time they get on the call, it's like, yep, I already know what you're about. I'm ready to work with you.
Yeah. And something that I find fascinating about shifting the focus over to like really understanding that the analogy that comes to mind is when many, many years ago, I made the transition from being in construction to having my own construction company, my own construction outfit. And, as a painting contractor, I went from painting for other people to being a painting contractor. And all I saw everywhere in my town was these like slick vans from these companies that had 7 or 8 vans, and they're all branded and everything's perfect. And they got the full page ads in the yellow pages. Right. And so the question naturally was, how the hell am I going to, how am I going to get a foothold? And I discovered what we're now talking about and what a lot of, I think, savvy marketers are noticing is ultimately there's always going to be someone who prefers you over them.
Exactly.
But you've got to get your real self out there. I shudder to say authentic. I'm not going to say that word, but transparent, real,
yes,
vulnerable, right? Approachable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Human.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and I couldn't agree more, man. I think it is, Gary Vaynerchuk says that currency is capital. And if currency is capital, awareness is currency. That's what he says. Awareness is capital.
Yeah. Attention.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, then it actually works in the favor of those of us that don't want to feel sleazy, because all we have to focus on is really putting ourselves out there in a strategic way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
Even with that, strategic doesn't mean like a, diabolical master plan for how to represent yourself. It just means how do you actually get the content out to the world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Systematically. Exactly.
Oh, here's one right here. Joy Idris says, that's how I connected to you, Manny. I liked you and felt in alignment. I love that.
Dude, I agree. That's why, like, we've been connected for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just seen your stuff. I watched your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, then you made an offer that appealed to me, and it was very clear. And I was like, dude, like, we'd never talked, never done business. Right. And you're like, it's this much. I'm like, boom, there you go. Totally. Like, send me the link, man. Like, but it's because I aligned with you, right? Like, I see offers all the time that's like, oh, that can maybe help my business. But, I don't necessarily align with that person. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm seeing, this is what I originally started to say, was that because attention is capital or currency, and because it's about us, this affords us an opportunity to do something that past entrepreneurs could not do as easily, which is to evolve who we are professionally. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
One of my friends, do you know who Arnie Gisk is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So Arnie, I was like one of his early guys on his podcast before he ever figured out how to make money from his group, right?
Right.
And I liked him. We hit it off, and so I stayed connected and followed him. And first, he was the group growth guy.
Yeah.
Then he sort of branched out into some marketing strategies and stuff like that. And he just declared to the world, like, I feel like it was about a month ago, that now for 2019, it's Arnie 4.0, and he's got this whole new mission.
Yeah. I think I saw that, actually.
Okay. So the cool thing about that is because he built up himself and get people to know him, he can totally shift and nobody thinks it's weird.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right. So
you're right. That's something that people haven't been able to do. Yeah.
Yeah. In the past, you would not. Coca-Cola can't start making running shoes. But
exactly.
But if Elijah Bowie wanted to get into apparel, he could totally do it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
because
so true.
Because you've got the folks who know you and they like you and they're like, what's next? It's so exciting, man. It's such an exciting thing to think about.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow. It's such a special time we live in, man. Yeah.
And you got to
just like, man.
Right. Yeah. And you got to really be like, well, okay, now we're talking more about my own mindset piece. But for me, one of the most important things that I really, and I mean this, to focus on each day is just what you said. Really stay grateful and appreciative of how amazing this time is, right? Yeah, it's just mind-blowing what we can do. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. Anyway, man, I hope that we have a chance to connect in person this year. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely got to make that happen.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Guys, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, getting to meet Elijah, your friendly neighborhood non-salesy sales trainer.
Right.
And so I'm going to go through and so Marcy, Emanuela, love your name, by the way. Joy, Bob, who else we got here? I know Sean, Tim, Daniel, Juliet, Amanda. Thanks, everybody. All of you who I didn't see your name, thank you guys too. Reach out to Elijah, man. He's just as easy to talk to as it seems like on this interview. Of course, I am a great interviewer, so.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Thank you very much, my friend. Great to connect with
Absolutely.
you. I appreciate your time and connecting with the audience here and helping to foster some community within the group.
Dude, yeah, I appreciate you for having me on. I like that I'm only here because I love what you're doing. And guys, please, for the love of everything good, just ask the man about the speaking thing because it's going to be that valuable and it can really help your business. So if you haven't yet, just have a conversation with him about it.
That's right, guys. Come and find out what's up. I've got something special for you. All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, my